Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, fellow racers. I am glad to bring back some tuning guides. It's been a very busy week competing in the Mans Esports Series, and I'm very proud with how I performed through it. Unfortunately, our team suffered a disconnect and sent us out early, so really gutted about it, but I'm still a bit in the Le Mans spirit, so I thought, since I've got a bit of extra time, I would create a tuning guide for you for a car specifically designed for Le Mans. We are here in, if you forgive me for one moment, we are in the number 55 Chevrolet FLM09. So I've never driven this car before, but we have sometimes seen it in the Le Mans Esports Series previously and in the Forza Racing Championship. So I thought, why not try a P-Class car? I'll throw a tune, see if we can put it up the leaderboard in the Forza P2 division, so basically the prototypes. See if it can compete against some of the Daytona prototypes which dominate the leaderboard. So with that said, we'll have a quick look at the leaderboard and see what we got. So I did try probably about 20 laps in total here. So here we go, top 5 in Europe, and it should be top 5 in the world as well. So not too bad for over 9,000 players that have taken part. You see the time is spread a fair bit across the Chevrolet Daytona prototypes and then the Ford Daytona prototype, so they really do just dominate this track. Where this FLM09 really helps itself is more so in the corners. That's where it's making up the time. So at first I thought it'd be a struggle to get into the 322s, but after a little while I realized we can actually push it quite a bit further without actually having to constantly retune the car. So tune's already shared. Please feel free to download it and just give it a try yourself if you feel a bit intimidated by these cars, because I've always been so. Yeah, but really happy that we got this amongst some of them DPs as well. So, you know, don't always have to go with the same meta. We've got another car here that's in the same vein of the Chevy, another car that's not a Daytona prototype, more of a Le Mans car itself, the Mazda. So we've managed to get the most of 2 seconds ahead, which is fantastic. But with that said, let's tuck straight into the tune, and then afterwards I will be happy to show you the actual lap that we've done. So how do we build this car? Very simple. If you want to go for maximum power, what we need to do is this combination. So the camshaft has to be race camshaft. We have stock valves. The displacement is on the race engine block. Pistons and compression is set to race as well, so race pistons. And then as for the restrictor plate, we have had to keep it stock. I've tried so many variations to try and figure out all the different ways of horsepower you can get. 519 for this division is the most that you can get. However, there are some builds which I'll quickly show you right now. I think the strongest tunes in this division are most likely by a Hydra and then Roadrunner, and as you can see they are both at 516 horsepower, so they're a few pounds lighter and a few less horsepower. But I thought, why don't we just try something a little bit different for you guys? Don't just want to regurgitate the same type of tunes that everyone else makes. So at least we've got something different for you guys to have some fun with, because it really is a fun car, although without traction control it's definitely difficult. But back to the building side of things. So we've covered the engine. How do we go about the tyres? So we just keep it as stock tyres. They're effectively race tyres. The only other option is drag, and that is a no-go. We have stock front tyre width. We have stock rear tyre width. So this is a tricky one. This is where you really need to decide if you're going to have it or not, because it really helps in you trying to exit the corners, more so with keeping some traction on the rear end, because otherwise you need to be really patient with this car either way. But just having that rear tyre width can help. And by the looks of it, it seems like we can even put it on without the PI going up further. So, oh, that's something you guys need to try. I didn't even do it. It's so silly of me, but maybe one of you guys should try it out and then see if you can beat my time around Le Mans. That'd be really fun. Onto the rim style, we had to go for the heaviest ones possible, so specialised rim style, and then the fourth one down, which is the AF134 by Asante. So that puts the total weight at 2,032 pounds. Do we mess around with the rim size? Yes, we do, because this actually helps bring us down by 1 PI. If we have them both at stock, then the PI actually sits at 951. So that's how you do that. Can't believe that I missed out the rear tyre width. So this car can definitely go faster. It might even go under 3 minutes 20 knowing that. But that's the build side of things. Let's take you through the tune. I didn't mess around a lot with how it is as a base. So 30-30 on the tyre pressure. The gearing, the only things we changed were the final drive and the 6th gear. So the final drive we have got at 2.51. And then the 6th gear we have got at 1.05. So I actually reduced the 6th gear. Why did I do that? So although the top speed stat on the left hand side remains the same, what I did notice that when I'm on the straights, I'm hanging around at the low 6,000 RPM, and it meant that the car was really struggling to tick on to like the next mile per hour. So a nice trick to do is to sometimes shorten the gear ever so slightly. So I think in stock it's just at 1, so we changed it to 1.05, and then what that done for us is it just helped push it in a bit of a higher rev range, and it actually helped this car reach 204 miles per hour whilst we were on the Mulsanne straight. So that was the gearing. Alignment, quite close to stock on the camber. It's originally at -2, so we've brought this down to -1.5 to match the rear. The toe we've kept to 0, 0, 0, 0, and then the caster we moved from 5 all the way up to 7. So that always helps with just smoothing out the transition of cars, especially around high speed sweeper bends and chicanes, which this track seems to have both of. So very important that we have that. We need to find ways to smoothen the car out, because you'll notice that later on in the tune we're missing some mechanical grip. Anti-roll bars we have got 10.44 on the front, the rear is 23.72. Set up for oversteer, same goes with the springs, but they're a lot closer. So the springs we've made very stiff, which is a very typical thing to do with prototype cars, because they have a lot of mechanical grip anyway, and there's so much force, G-force is being pushed on them as they're going around corners, that you really need stiff springs just to keep the car responsive and stable at them high speeds. So the front's at 679.8, the rear is at 706.8. Front ride height we've pumped up to 4.0. So this was just actually to help more weight sit on the rear end when we're coming out of turns. As I mentioned, just to help keep some traction on them rear tyres, because the turbo in this car, it's not the turbo, sorry, it's the torque. The torque really kicks in soon, and it means that if you're not patient enough, the tail end is just going to slip out like crazy. And I found that putting the front ride height seems to help that quite a lot. The same applies to many other cars, so do make a note of that whenever you are tuning. On to the damping, we have kept this absolutely stock. I just didn't want to bother messing around with it. Might be a bit of sacrilege. People like Roadrunner and Hydra, I do think they would play around with these. I think they'd probably have the rebound all the way up near to 12, and then the bump all the way down near to like 2 or 0. But I just kept it stock. It felt nice. I wanted to quickly make a tune and run some laps in it right away, and at least we've got something that we know works. Over to the aero. So I said that we're not going to have much mechanical grip. Why is that? Because we've got no downforce. We're at the old historic Le Mans track. It's got the Mulsanne straight, which takes over a minute to complete. So we need to make sure that we can really extract every bit of speed as possible, because the speed matters more than the handling around this track. So 322 on the front downforce, and then the rear downforce is 541. Braking force, I just kept at 50. You do recognise from my past videos, guys, that I typically do go under 50, but just wanted to keep it there for the testing, and it felt fine to me. So braking force, it's preference of your own. I just put it to 160. That just helped me get to the right amount of braking, especially after the long straight. That was what was most comfortable to me. So that is that. And then on to the differential, the last thing. We've kept it stock, so 69% on the XL. Deceleration is 17. To be honest, we could probably turn the decel down, because it doesn't really kick out a lot under the braking. The acceleration, you might want to reduce that though, especially if you mess around using sim steering. But if you're going to use TCS, then I'd say try and keep the differential very high, or even put it all the way up to 100. You'll just need to experiment with it, see what feels the best for you coming out the turns. If you're using TCS, does it bog too much? Chances are you might need to lower the diff a little bit just to help with that. But that is the tuning side of things, guys. I still can't believe that we didn't use that improved rear tyre width. I'm going to have to add that on, but I think I'll let you guys just run some laps in this car and you tell me the times that you get, and then I might return to this, because after all, it's going to be the Le Mans weekend we have right now, and I think I want to watch some of that motorsport action, so at least I'm in the mood by racing here. But what I want to do for you now, guys, is actually take you over to the lap itself. So here we are, we're actually coming out of one lap whereby we were doing really fantastic time, and then coming into this last chicane, you'll notice right here, basically we had to compromise a lot whilst coming out of it. So really tough stuff there, but it was our best time so far. It was a 3:21.3, and I just wanted to have a quick look at that, and I was debating whether to go or not for another lap, and you know what, I'm glad that I did. So here we go again, on to lap 4. Really, this is probably like maybe my 18th lap so far, because I tried some different sessions, but we shall press onto the new lap. So coming into turn 1, what do we do? The moment you're after this sweeper, look for the billboards on the right hand side and brake as you approach them, and then just try and keep it tight around the first half of the chicane, because that really helps on your exit. You want to make it as straight as possible as you get out of the Dunlop chicane. Sweeper on the right, brake a bit earlier than you think so that you can really hug that curb, because you can see there it leans into it, the road leans into, and then the fast right hander, move over to the left, tap the brake or lift off ever so slightly, and then just attack it. Try and hit that apex, because if you miss that apex and then you run wide, then you've obviously invalidated the lap, and then you're just a poor soul, because you need to wait a whole other 2 minutes just to finish the lap and move on to another one. But here we are on the straight. So back to what I was talking about with the gearing, we want to make sure that we can actually get to around the mid 6,000, so 6,400, 6,500 revs. That's what we want to be able to hit, because that's where the horsepower is staying at 519 horsepower. So it's quite interesting. The car actually peaks into the power, I wouldn't say early, but maybe around 5,000. And then it's just about, can you keep the horsepower there long enough, because it's once you approach 7,000 RPM that the horsepower then starts to back off. So this is what worked for me. Finally coming to the end of the straight, you'll notice the rubble strip on the right hand side. As we pass this is when we are going to brake, and we just completely dive into the turn. The brakes on this are so much better than you think, so don't be afraid to just push it a little bit later than what you might be used to with other cars, because the braking on this car is super responsive. So onto the back straight now. As you can see, we're pretty much matching our time of the previous lap, so the main goal is maintain the exact same pace until we get into them final forward chicanes, and then we should be able to beat the time by a fair bit. Indianapolis, sweeper, the moment you come through that right hander, you start to brake and then tuck it tight into that left. And here there's a little board on the left hand side. You may have not seen it in the video there, but please do rewind. There is a board ahead of you on the left hand side, and that is your brake marker for this very tight right hander. Make sure not to crash into the tyre barrier, otherwise known as Roadrunner corner. The one that Roadrunner famously crashed into in the finals of the Forza Racing Championship back in 2017 at Le Mans. Sketchy entry into the Porsche curves there, very dangerous stuff. It's a very hard car to tame, especially when you don't have any downforce on it, but it still feels pretty comfortable, I'd say. I was using normal steering here. There's just no way I wanted to spend my time using sim, but feel free to take what feels more comfortable to you. As you can see, we're 2/10 down actually, but coming into the forward chicanes, as long as we nail it, try and run over each apex and rumble strip, and there we go, a much better run coming out. Patient on the throttle, and you can see we've actually flicked the steering to the left on the exit. That's just to counteract all of that torque that comes from the engine. But as you can see, that is a 3-minute 20, so really happy with that, and I hope it's something that you guys have enjoyed. So with that said, if you're not already subscribed, please make sure that you are, guys. I would really appreciate it if you are. And so that's the video, guys. If you're not already subscribed, why aren't you? Please make sure that you are, so that you can get more tuning guides and track guides from me on Forza Motorsport, as well as some videos on Project Cars 3. I've done some tuning guides that have been really kicking off on my channel, so I'm super happy to see new people coming and showing their support, along with the old supporters as well. We just want to make one big happy family of racers on this channel for you. But please like the video, guys, and I want you to tell me, what are you thinking about Le Mans this year? What teams have you been rooting for? Whether it's the Le Mans Esports Series or for the actual World Endurance Championship 24 Hours of Le Mans. Tell me in the comments. I'll be more than happy to talk with you guys. Love interacting with everyone who watches the videos. But until the next video, guys, take care and see you soon.